CC Podcast. We need a new catchphrase. Comment below and let us know what you think our catchphrase should be. And then we will promptly ignore it. Now enjoy the rest of the show.
What if we did a thing where, like, every time someone leaves a comment, the first comment is our new catchphrase for the next episode. So no matter what it is, we have to say it.
Okay, that could work. All right then.
Or at least the first suitable one, like.
Yeah. Of course.
The CC Podcast. We kick kittens.
Okay, and welcome to the CC Podcast. My name is Miles Beckler.
And I'm Trevor.
And
Shanahan.
today, superheroes. Again.
Superheroes?
Yeah.
I came wholly unprepared for this. I think my extent of superhero knowledge is, okay. It came from Infamous. I never really watched many of the Marvel movies, except for Thor and Iron Man series. And maybe if you count Harry Potter as a superhero, but I think that's a bit of a stretch.
I would consider that fantasy genre.
But, so funny, like, I know almost every artist I know now grew up having an imaginary, like, superhero version of themselves. And they're always like, what did you imagine yourself being? And I'm like, I didn't do that as much. Although I did have a dream sometime after The Incredibles came out that I could run really, really, really fast. And so,
yeah,
I woke up the next day and it was such a vivid dream and I had so much fun that I woke up that day believing or wanting to believe that if I mixed a special potion, which was mouthwash and water, I think 1 part mouthwash, 2 parts water, and I sprayed it in my mouth, that I could run super duper fast. And I was really disappointed when it didn't work.
Well, I guess your dentist was happy, though.
Oh, that's quite a unconventional way to use mouthwash, but it works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not watering it down, but...
And I don't know if it was swallowable. So, maybe I have cancer? No, I'm kidding. Well, did you ever have a superhero alter ego?
Oh boy, I'm trying to think that far back. I guess maybe. I think, like, when I started getting into superheroes, I just immediately kind of jumped into just making my own superheroes. I didn't really make them a self-insert so much as just a character. I don't think I saw myself in them, which was weird because I did that a lot when I was a kid writing characters.
Self-inserts?
Yeah.
Yeah, many people do. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of how you start out as a writer or as, like, a storyteller. Just when most people write stories, especially as kids, they just do self-inserts.
Right.
Yeah.
You only know your own human condition at that age. You haven't met as many people. You can't. So you just kind of make what comes to mind, and what happens to come to mind is usually just a self-insert. But I don't know. I didn't deal with superheroes so much. So I'm still having a little trouble with the whole writing superheroes because you need a balance. You need something that's like a weakness for them.
Well, I think maybe. Or you could just have the villain being equally as powerful. That's kind of a way out of that type of character. Because you don't want a kryptonite thing where it's just like, a rock takes away his superpowers. Because that's kind of boring.
It's really boring. I was just about to say that. Superman seems like kind of
he's just too OP.
He's the most... Yes, he's a Mary Sue. He's the most bare bones interpretation of a superhero. it's like
Well, he was the first one.
absolutely.
So that makes sense.
He set the groundwork for many to follow after that. But I feel like kryptonite is just a little bit on the nose. It's just like literally anything can be made of kryptonite now, and it's like a coverall explanation for a weakness. But I think it would be honestly awesome if Superman's weakness was just something really ridiculous, like say he just is afraid of the dark. Well, no, he's got eyes that
he's got laser vision.
Yeah, there's so many. I feel like they wrote his good parts first, and then when they tried to write his...
Well, that's the thing. In those days, you didn't write flawed characters. You wrote characters that were perfect in every conceivable way. And every time they wanted him to solve a certain problem, he just pulled another power out of his ass.
Right. Like Sherlock Holmes, but with superpowers that they just made up.
I mean, have you seen the superpowers Superman had in like the 40s and 50s?
No, what were
he
they?
Could make tiny replicas of himself shoot out of his hands.
Why?
I don't know. It's just one of the powers he had. Well, no, it's like one of those powers that only showed up for one issue and then was never brought up again.
That makes sense.
Only to be replaced with another equally random
ridiculous
superpower. It's like James Bond's weapons he gets from Q Branch. They're incredibly convenient for the circumstances. He uses them once and then they're never used again.
You almost wonder if Q is writing the story. He's actually God.
You think the Bond team may have been working on Superman's comics?
I think they left James Bond in the dark, and they knew exactly how the story was going to go, but they're like, trust me, you're going to need this. Because like it's kind of like Dora's backpack, or it's kind of like Dora's
backpack isn't even as much of a Deus ex machina, like, because she's consistent to just the few things like the map and all she does is pull the map out of her backpack. That's it.
I guess I'm thinking
she doesn't pull out a magical vacuum that sucks up all the puddles in her way so that she can walk across.
Dora, this item is specifically for puddles of Coca-Cola that are really big and will make your shoes sticky. How do you know I'm going to use that? Please don't ask questions, Dora.
No, but that's the type of thing they said to James Bond when he went into Q Branch.
Exactly. I was thinking of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse because I was just on the cusp of getting too old for cartoons when that was out, but I just kind of left the TV on, and it always bugged me that they used literally everything.
Oh. I barely remember that. So, yeah, I was getting a little too old for... I mean, I was too old for cartoons at that time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, that was like a little kid's cartoon. I only saw that a few times because, like, a cousin of mine was watching it.
I was going to Disney World around the time that was on, so I would just, like, fall asleep with Disney Channel on, and I would wake up to that. And so I was really interested in Disney stuff for a little bit. And now, not so much. But, so Superman was kind of like, they set him in stone, and then they built off of that in future superheroes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, they made him from a time where just a guy who could fly was mind-blowing. Like, that was mind-blowing writing back then. But now it's just like, every other character written these days can fly. What else you got?
Yeah.
Yeah, nowadays people want depth to a character.
They're starting to kind of move away from flying. I've noticed, like, Wolverine doesn't fly. Iron Man kind of flies.
Yeah, well, he can fly. He's got, like, the jetpack.
He can fly, but a lot of them don't fly organically anymore. Like, Batman glides. And that's close enough to flying that we're like, okay, it checks out.
He's just got like that bat hovercraft thing,
or
whatever it was in Bat movies.
His cape, which is his cape allows him to glide, but he can only go down from a high point. Then he's got his grapple hook for everything else. But back then, there weren't a lot of mediums for people to like see someone flying, and comic books were mind blowing because like, wow,
Yeah.
we get to see we get to see what it might look like for a person to
Yeah.
be a bird.
And at that time, the only comics around were pretty much just westerns, just cowboys and stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, like back when superheroes were just starting out, Batman at first was supposed to be kind of a western along the lines of Zorro, and he would ride around in a horse and carriage or coach instead of a Batmobile.
No kidding.
Seriously, yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, Batman was almost kind of just a Western vigilante. He wasn't gonna have a bat motif, but then they decided, hey, this Superman thing is kind of
Like taking
popular.
off.
Why don't we just give him a cape and stuff instead?
That makes a lot of sense though, because if you look at Batman, you see Gotham is very much like a world of Wild West. Anything goes. If you need
it's crazy.
If you need to kill someone to get what you want, you can basically do it. Hence the reason the Joker hasn't been put away successfully yet. So
yeah.
So like
it's a revolving door at Arkham, and one goes in, one comes out.
Yeah. You got the gator and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Killer Croc.
Because like there's a big motif in westerns of a big vast open area for that is very full of crime, and this vigilante has to go on his own to stop it. Sure, after a while they had Robin, but for the most part, Batman.
It's kind of like the Lone Ranger in Tonto or something.
Yeah, that's actually probably what it's inspired by.
Yeah, partially, probably. Yeah.
Just a loyal.
Yeah,
dog.
a lot of things in Batman you could connect back to those original westerns and Western comics.
Absolutely, and one other important thing in westerns is that there's got to be targets that are easily identifiable. So there's no moral question about, is this actually okay for them to murder these people? But like, you look at these people and you're supposed to be like, got it, they are the enemy. And for a while, westerns did that with native people, and that was in that time it was considered like, oh yeah, obviously Western people or native people, like they're just kind of like blank things that we don't need to characterize them or anything. They aren't three-dimensional. They're just targets.
And no one was three-dimensional back then. Even heroes weren't three-dimensional.
Yeah.
They were just, I'm handsome, I'm rugged, I shoot things.
That's exactly the impression of literally every Western hero ever. But like, people are speculating that the replacement for westerns now is The Walking Dead and zombies, because it is no longer politically correct. And I know people hate hearing that term, but it's no longer. I think we can all agree it's no longer PC to have people shooting natives. So now they have The Walking Dead. Think of it. It's a series with a cowboy main character who's in a pretty empty, spacious world that is free, and any crime that happens, the police won't come after them because it's kind of like a fend for yourself kind of world. And there are those faceless targets and nameless targets for people to kill, because there's no moral question. If you see a zombie, it's survival. So it's just you shoot them, and there's no way that you can offend people with zombies.
Is that why zombies are dying out? Zombie movies are dying out as well?
Yes.
Going like the Western?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's 100% why that's happening. And it's just an oversaturated...
I've always find it kind of boring when you don't have... when your villain is faceless, or there's no, there's no character to them. It's just, shoot him, bang, there.
Yeah. It works well for quick arcade games that you pop a quarter into and you just shoot a gun. It does not work so well for a multifaceted story that you need drama in. It no longer can we suspend disbelief enough to be like, oh, just freaking zombies again. Superheroes.
Yeah. Yeah. With interesting characters, even the villains.
Yes.
Yeah.
Superheroes with the best superhero series are the ones where you can empathize with the villain in some way.
Right.
I think the Joker is a really good one because it seems people like him.
Well, I mean, you don't really empathize with the Joker. Most people don't even know what his motivation is. He doesn't even really seem to have one. He just likes causing chaos.
Isn't he meant to be the person who shot Batman's parents?
In some incarnations, every story's a little different. So in some versions, he's just a guy who went nuts and has no real motive.
I think the main time that I empathized with the Joker was when he told his story in The Dark Knight.
Well, doesn't he change his story a bit in that movie, so you don't know if he's telling the truth or not?
He's a very unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
You have no idea when he's fucking with you, and that's what's kind of scary about him.
Yeah, right. Speaking of, like, villains you empathize with, but have you seen Avengers Infinity War?
I've seen Infinity War, not the new one, though.
Yeah, neither have I. I haven't seen Endgame yet. Probably see it when it comes out on DVD or something.
Yeah, probably. I can't wait. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, but Thanos in Infinity War, a lot of people empathize with him and his struggle. Or, well, maybe empathize is kind of a strong word. They understand his point of view.
Empathize is a pretty good... You don't have to fully agree with what someone's doing to empathize with them a little bit.
Well, to empathize, I kind of think that implies you feel bad for him or something.
I think empathize is the one where you have been through it before and can feel their pain. Sympathize would be more the word.
Well, Thanos had his entire planet destroyed, so I doubt anyone here can understand his plight.
Empathy, I think, is when you put when you put yourself in someone else's shoes. Sympathize is more like the word because it means you can't understand, but you can commiserate and be like, oh, that freaking sucks. I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah, I was mixing up my pathizes.
Yeah, pathizes. I need to go to the gym. I gotta get my pathizes worked out.
Yeah, but, you understand Thanos and where he's coming from. That's a thing when talking about any villain is you don't necessarily have to agree with where they're coming from, but understanding where they're coming from is important.
Yes, understanding where they're coming from. You don't have to agree or be a similar way in order to sympathize or understand. But it's a well-written... What makes a well-written villain?
It's kind of hard to nail down. I guess just like a clear, consistent motive or something.
I heard from one actor recently, I'm not sure who it is, but he covers a lot of villainous roles, and he says that the way he plays villains is very similar to a main character. He says you just know that the character is doing what they have to do, or they're just living out their life doing what they believe they have to do until the moment they take it a little too far.
Yeah.
But even that moment when they take it too far should be understandable to the viewer. Like, they could, almost like they could see themselves making the same decision. So he just, when he's acting, he sees the villain not as some one-dimensional, baddie. He sees him as a fully fledged person who's just doing what he feels like he has to do.
Right.
Which is kind of like Thanos.
Right.
What was Thanos' story? What drove him to?
His entire planet basically was overpopulated to the point where their society collapsed and his planet was destroyed. So he now believes he has to wipe out half of the life in the universe to keep them.
Prevent that from happening in other worlds.
Yeah.
So he's a very logical-minded person.
Yeah. You follow the logic of what he's doing.
Not very emotionally motivated. Just looking at this.
Well, I mean, you do see a lot of emotion in him as a character.
Right.
Yeah.
But
it's just, he's letting his logic or his, flawed, twisted logic overpower his emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you see? Brought it full circle.
Yeah.
So, let me see. It looks like we named the character Time Muncher.
Yeah, Time Muncher. The Time Muncher returns.
I'm going to have to see what I think of that name, or if there's a way to change it, because I kind of came up with it right on the spot. Last time I was like, Time Muncher? It could be, I don't know, Time Cruncher, Time...
Time Chomp.
Time
Chomp. Chomper.
Time Eater. No. It could be,
Biter, chewer.
I like Time Muncher.
Biter. Back. He goes back when he bites, or no?
I don't know. We'll think of a name. I don't know if I'm satisfied with Time Muncher. I'll think of something though. Maybe his name is just called Central Time.
Oh, and speaking about villains today, I thought up an idea for a somewhat villainous idea for Time Muncher. It's kind of off the wall kind of thing, not entirely grounded in our reality, but I'll tell you what I think. So basically, you said when I was editing the video, I remember you saying that Time Muncher doesn't want him to see himself from the past. But then I started thinking, well, what would happen if he accidentally saw himself? And so I thought, well, maybe it might, tear apart the fabric of reality and space-time. And then I thought, if there is a rift in space-time, someone has to fix it. So these, interdimensional police that hunt down time travelers could come and arrest him and throw him in a jail for time travelers.
Arrest the original one or the older one?
Maybe the older one while he's in that period.
Yeah, because he knows everything. Imagine he's doing something to mess with time and maybe cheat things.
Yeah,
maybe like the lottery numbers.
Maybe while he's stuck in the past, he goes back in time, tries to make contact with himself in order to, I don't know, create a rift and try and crawl through it, see where he goes, and then he gets arrested, thrown into a time prison with all sorts of other time travelers with weird time-based powers.
Whoa, that's crazy.
And then he has to make a jailbreak or something with all these characters.
That's almost kind of a Rick and Morty style thing.
I thought it would. Yeah, it reminds me of Rick and Morty.
What if the Time Muncher is like, all that shit they say about not seeing your past self, and they're like, yeah, and he's like, that's all bullshit. He's super convinced of the fact that if you were to meet your past self, rather than being a thing that would wipe you out and destroy time, it would be a good thing for him. He's like, he thinks that if he meets up with his past self and gets together and works together, they could be unstoppable, almost like a god. Could you imagine this scene where they both focus really hard and work together, and they come together to become this unstoppable force that is indescribable, almost like Lucy at the end of the movie Lucy. Have you seen Lucy?
I know the idea behind it. Yeah.
She unlocks 100% of her brain and becomes a god.
Even though
it's not even true. We use all of our brain.
Yeah.
We use all of our brain.
We use most of our brains even when we're asleep.
Our brains wouldn't be growing if we didn't use all of them.
Yeah.
And actually,
yeah.
our brains might be getting to the point where they're like done growing and we're gonna evolve somewhere else. That it's all bullshit, but I like that idea. Crazy supernatural shit happening when you meet yourself, and the older time muncher is really excited about it because he's almost at the end of his life. He's gonna die soon, so he's like, I am afraid to die because I missed out on so much of my life replaying 18 years of my life. And, or 20 years of my life.
Yeah.
So he's like, dude, come on, let's work together. We can literally be unstoppable. So it's almost like a villain, but he has a motive for being a little villainous.
Yeah. And so I thought maybe when he gets transported into like the time traveler prison, I could like all these other weirdly strange time traveling powers, like some people who just I don't know, time travel by running really fast.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
They time travel forward because when you travel fast enough past the speed of light, if you were to theoretically take a spaceship and go past the speed of light, and then on the way back, it would be like Interstellar, where you would time travel forward and be pretty dang close to the same age that you were when you left off. You can only go forward though, and he can't go backwards. So maybe this guy has the opportunity to travel so fast. Maybe he has like a hamster wheel or something that allows him to.
Or they try to make a makeshift hamster wheel in the prison.
Yeah.
And it falls apart. He just runs into the wall.
What if his whole purpose is to imagine he has this tragic backstory of having to leave behind his family, watch them grow old and die, while someone is bleeding him dry because their business model is like, maybe their business model is, hey, you can grab all of these artifacts from this era, and then you're going to go on that hamster wheel, and you're going to run really fast until you're in the future, and they're antique, and then you're going to sell them for a shit ton of money. So say like he was from before like the, I don't know, 1600s or whatever, and he had to time travel forward and forward and forward. He's just kind of tired of working the same job every century. You know, they hand him like World War II memorabilia, and they're like, this is going to be important in the future. And he's like, if you say so. Puts it in his backpack, runs really fast, and then...
But if it's with him traveling at that speed, wouldn't it be the same age as him when he gets into the future? So, no, wait. Does he travel into the future without aging?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
He does, and so does everything that's traveling as fast as he does.
So, do all the business people travel with him? Because if not, then they would just age normally.
They would.
Then why wouldn't they just keep the stuff?
Well, their whole thing is because they're bleeding this guy dry. The company has a lot of money to pay them to do this,
but why? Why would anyone invest it if they can't make money off of it?
They can make money off of it. It's just they are gonna be
a really long-term investment.
Not really. The company itself has just been going for many centuries, and so they have enough money now because of selling these very expensive, memorabilia and time capsules. Basically, it's capitalized time capsules, and so they pack him up with a giant backpack all the time.
But why not just put the stuff in actual time capsules and just bury it? It would still arrive in the future.
Maybe it's
maybe they're idiots.
I mean, sometimes plot holes just happen because characters are idiots. But I feel like the difference between a time capsule and attaching it to a time traveler is that the goods. You look at World War II memorabilia now. and they're like rusted.
Maybe if you found a way to age something artificially, that could maybe give you some money.
I don't know. Maybe it's not necessarily aging. It's just like, could you imagine if someone brought out the first ever video game console, the Odyssey? If they brought out an Odyssey right now and it was still perfectly packaged, the packaging was boxy, no wrinkles in it, and it still had the original tape from when it was first manufactured. That shit would be worth hundreds.
But if people wanted to just preserve that and then get it into the future, couldn't they just find a way to seal it in an airtight thing and let it sit there until the future?
I suppose.
Yeah.
It looks like this is full of plot holes.
Yeah.
What do you think they would do?
Mm.
Or what if he could run so fast that he could time travel? What do you think his story would be?
I didn't really come up with a story for him. I just thought that was just an idea that came off the top of my head.
I think it's good though.
Yeah, and like all these different time travelers in the prison time travel in different ways. Some of them do like the Doc Brown thing and invented time machines, and others just have time mutations and are superheroes or supervillains. Because some of them I'm thinking would be evil, some of them would be good, and like, hey, I was just trying to make time travel so I could go into the future and find the cure for cancer or something.
Right.
And then
it's just like, I want to see future cars.
Yeah. And so, but the time police just kind of arrest them indiscriminately. And so, even though some are villains and some are good guys, they all have to work together to get out. I was thinking that could be a fun plot for the Time Muncher.
That is an interesting plot. What would happen in this time jail? How would they keep them from, using their powers?
Well, I'm thinking it would be an extra-dimensional prison where time doesn't exist.
Time
so
doesn't
they
mean
can't.
anything.
Yeah, so they never age, but they can't all ever travel forward or backward in time because there is no time.
It's kind of like how after the universe fizzles out and all of the energy is used up and everything's expanded so much, time will be meaningless. It'll be kind of like an alternate universe where time is already meaningless.
Yeah, and so I thought, okay, yeah, so these characters all come together and like, okay, how do we get around this? How do we find a loophole in this universe where our powers don't work, essentially? Yeah, how do we time travel out of this or get out of this without our powers?
How do you think they would do it?
They would probably have to figure out how the, guards and police actually get in and out of the dimension and find a way to get their powers and figure out how they work.
Maybe they have.
Because they'd all be pretty smart scientists and stuff.
Yeah. Ooh, what if?
It's like an entire jail of Rick Sanchez's and Doc Brown.
It's true. What if the way that they... Okay, so we're kind of thinking about the idea, possibly, of making Time Muncher like an unstoppable time god. So even before he gets together with his younger self and becomes this unstoppable force, maybe during the time when they're not fused together, there's an alternate universe and dimension where they have already done that. And all throughout time, and throughout every universe, there is one of them that has already done this, and he's the one letting them in and letting them out. I don't know. Is that a little too convoluted?
No, I don't think it's too convoluted. I just think, how would they... Because there needs to be some type of conflict to where they have to work hard to actually figure out the solution.
Right, they do.
So how would they figure this out? How would they manage to figure out that there's a multiple a different dimension where a guy can get them in and out, and how do they contact him?
I wonder how they would find this out. Maybe, because, oh, right, we called him the Time Muncher because he goes back to the last time someone ate.
Mm-hmm.
So, what if someone was beaten to death in this jail? Like they were misbehaving. It was a guard, but he asked too many questions or something. And so they beat him to death under the...
They beat a guard to death, or
Yeah, all the rest of the staff beat the shit out of him. Maybe it's because it's like, you know how in the mafia you can never tell when someone's gonna get so pissed off that they, like kill you. What if this guy, like this guard, gets into a quarrel with someone and gets his ass kicked and beaten, and the Time Muncher finds him somehow dead on the floor and is like, because wasn't it he can touch anyone, and if he imagines going back in time, then it will happen, but he'll only go back to the last time they ate.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this death will have happened during a meal. And,
okay.
And it was during like when a big discussion about how they get in and out. Maybe it was a new trainee, and they were teaching him, okay, this is how we get in, this is how we get out. The Time Muncher touches this person, goes back to that meal, is hiding under the table, and can listen in on it.
But I'm just wondering, since the time jail exists in a universe where there is no time, how can he use his powers then?
That's true.
Yeah. Like, they basically are prohibited, or basically kept from using their powers because they're in this place.
So maybe in this universe, because time doesn't matter, the only time that exists is the present. There is no such thing in this universe as the past and the future.
Yeah, maybe because there is no time, they can remember things that are going to happen, and they manage to, because there is no past, present, or future. There is just everything.
And maybe
they
one
managed.
Of them, maybe one of them, like they're incredibly smart, especially concerning time, and so some of them have the ability to basically forecast the future, especially in this world where there is no past or present. Or,
if there's no past or present, past or future, couldn't they all see into the future and past and present at the same time and everything?
Yeah, maybe they see. I wonder how it would look. It would have to have a distinct art style. What if it was like...
But then again, it would probably just be a universe where everything is happening all at once.
What if in this world... I need a piece of paper, quick.
Okay.
What if in this world, because there is no future, there's only the present, I wonder if it would look something like this. Maybe like, this is the plane that they exist in now, and will never exist in again. There is... If they take pictures in this universe, the picture will just keep changing to what it would look like now, because there's no such thing as the past. But I wonder if it would have some cool, neat effect, kind of like a 3D effect almost, of like... It would have to look so unique and unlike anything else. Like, and then this is the present that they're in now. Maybe there would be two people talking. One of them's like, what? Like, I don't get it. Like, where are we right now? And then maybe we'll consider this is our guy. He's got his little goggles on. And there's another person here. This would be the present. Maybe there's another person talking here, like being like, pish posh, friggin' whatever, man. This is a weird place. And then in these other frames of time, there would be the things that are gonna happen in the future. So let's say this person here is gonna grab this bottle on the floor, and smash his head in or whatever. It would be something like you would be able to look to your right or look to your left and see the things extending beyond, and it would extend in all 4 directions too, or all 8 directions, whatever. It's a little weird, but so what this guy's gonna reach over and grab this bottle,
kind of like this, like this?
Exactly like that, and you see how there's a little bit of a delay.
Yeah,
it would be like that, but reverse. It would show the future.
It's a touch screen, so
the deeper you look, so you would look into the background and you would be able to see, and this would explain why everyone's able to see the future. Like let's say this guy
just look to your left.
Yes, exactly. You just look to your left and you see here's him grabbing the bottle, and here's the other guy.
Well, maybe like since there is no past or future, since it would be kind of like this, only if there was a mirror image on the other side going the other way.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Exact same thing, and in all directions. Okay,
that's what I'm thinking.
I'm seeing where you're at.
You're seeing.
Okay,
and maybe this way would be alternate dimensions. Maybe if he weren't to grab that bottle and were to talk it out, that would be, instead of looking this way, you'd look that way.
Right.
And once you stopped existing in this plane, you would go on to exist in another plane. Hence the reason there would be no such thing as the past or future. It's very convoluted and hard to get your head around, but once you do, I feel like it's very satisfying. And it explains a lot of plot holes too. And this would be the part where like he hits him in the. So this would allow for some cool storytelling techniques, because you would get to look and strategize and see the moment you're about to get hit, and then change your change the future.
It sounds like it would be very confusing in a fun way, like you could confuse the audience, but
I've always loved confusing plots. Like Inception, that's my shit. Everyone's like, it's so hard to understand, and I'm like, but that's what makes it fun. You get to watch it again and you'll notice different things each time.
Would this just be constantly going on in all directions? Like if you tried walking into the next block over and then the next one and the next one, could it just keep going and going forever?
Oh, you mean like infinite?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like could you walk into another time?
Yeah, well, like you're saying you can see the future right next to you. Could you actually reach out and grab the future right next to you? Future you?
That would be something that would be very difficult to do.
Could you like reach to the sides and then grab hands with yourself and pull yourself through time?
Maybe that could be the way they get in and out. Maybe that would be the secret that they use to get in and out, and they don't know about it. You have to be very quick to do it. Hence why they need the person who can run quickly. Because he would be just quick enough he'd be like reaching out, like trying to grab his future self, and holding out his hands so that
he would have to be so fast that he would have to be in more than one place at once.
Right. But these people would have like a key that would allow them to be like literally the way that they would get out of the jail and back into a timed environment would be to, I don't know, do something like click a button and then reach up and grab their hand from another reality and pull themselves out. Or maybe a rope would come in and pull themselves out. Something weird like that.
Or they could just maybe reach across. No.
There's a lot of puzzling ways to get this to work, but it's going to be really fun.
Oh, that could be pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw something similar to this in Interstellar. If you've ever seen that movie.
No, I haven't.
Do you mind spoilers?
No, I don't care.
There's a moment where he goes into the fourth dimension. Spoiler alert, by the way. For Interstellar, go watch it if you have not. Interstellar. There's a scene where he goes into the fourth dimension, and he gets to see a very similar area to this, where different realities exist all at the same time. And I'll actually have to show you this. You might be able to edit this out, or you might have to edit this out. But it's very conducive to what I'm thinking about. There's a moment where he's traveling. He gets pulled away from his crew and starts falling into space. He's falling so fast through these many rooms that is very similar to what I'm thinking of for this. And each of these rooms is a different reality of his daughter's room on Earth. But it has this distinct art style that's so cool. Oh, he's moving the books. Just by tapping on the edges of time and alternate universes. And so he gets to look through and see one of the universes where his long-lost daughter is. But I think the visual style would essentially look kind of like this. This is the visual style I'm thinking, though. It extends super far back, super far up, and all the way in every direction. It would be such a cool art style.
Wow.
A little difficult to pull off, but we could do it. And something like that.
All right, then. So, yeah, I guess that would be the time prison story arc for Time Muncher.
It could be. It could be, and it would be so distinct from the rest of it.
Yeah. Okay, so did you have any other ideas for him, or?
I don't know. Just to elaborate on the original idea, where he maybe. So I do imagine that for a very long time, Time Muncher will only exist in his present day form, at least to the viewers. So
wait, which form is the present day form?
Sorry, what I mean is Time Muncher as the young version.
Okay.
And so we'll get to know him as a young person, which will be interesting because we'll know him so personally as a young guy, and then when we finally meet his older self, we'll get to see how his choices and others' choices when he's young affect his development as an older man. But the big reveal won't happen for a while, but you will see a few mysterious moments where this creepy old man is like sort of subconsciously guiding him.
What do you mean subconsciously?
Are
you saying there's like a psychic link between them? Or?
Not a psychic link. I think that would be putting too many.
Yeah, that would be kind of silly.
It would be going. What I mean is, have you ever seen Now You See Me, or Now You See It?
No.
Yeah, Now You See Me. They did this thing where because he's super intelligent, he finds a way to subconsciously guide his younger self in a certain direction, and it's because in Now You See Me, they plant ideas, almost plant seeds into a person's mind by bumping into them on the street and then saying a number, and it's little things like that that are just super weird, but then in the grander scheme of things it makes sense because they're trying to plant this seed so I think maybe the seed he's trying to plant is to maybe prevent himself from traveling so far back into the past.
But if he does prevent himself, then wouldn't he not be able to prevent himself?
That's
kind of the Marty McFly thing. If he prevents himself from stop. Oh no, never mind. Not the Marty McFly thing, but you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
If he prevents himself from traveling back in time that far, then he wouldn't have to. Then he wouldn't have gone that far back. Then he wouldn't have tried to prevent himself from going that far back, then he would have gone that far back and so
You're
on and
kind
so
of
on.
opening a can of worms that like you
Yeah,
wouldn't
that's
be
kind
able
of
to
like
get
a
out of
paradox thing. Maybe that's where he ends up. Why he ends up in
time jail.
time jail,
Yeah.
because he tries to prevent himself from doing it, and then he ends up creating a paradox and falling into it.
Eventually, though, it'll have to happen that he does it anyway, or like because yeah, that's interesting. In order for him to exist in the past and in the present,
He has to make the mistake that he's trying to prevent.
Yeah. Maybe it's one of those nihilistic things where he's just like, I just want to die already. Can you just not go back in the past? But I don't. I actually just kind of said this and I didn't know where it was going. So that might not be what we do with it.
So what happens to Time Muncher after all is said and done? What happens to the old version after the young version of him disappears and then he finds his friends again? And then what? Does he just live his life? Does he just retire? Does he just live his life?
You mean after the old Time Muncher returns back to his friends?
Yeah, that's what.
I don't think he would just live out his life normally. I don't think his life will ever be normal again.
Well, then what would he do? Would he still solve crimes, or would he just?
Probably he would, because he's had so much time to study history. He would know basically like that history repeats itself. That would be a running theme. History repeats itself because it's a motif that goes well with time. And so he would know, like, say for instance, when there's about to be a war, red cars get very, very, very popular. So maybe he starts to see all these little signs that are like, guys, there's an all-out war coming for us. There's an apocalypse coming, and I know it, and I can't tell you like how I know it, but it's gonna happen. So he's kind of the force that causes these ragtag, unlikely family group of superheroes to stop, to kind of grow out of their childhood phase where they're just goofing around with their powers and having fun. And he's like, guys, this is a serious crisis. This is a real thing. We need, like, he kicks their butts into shape and gets them moving, to hopefully prevent this annihilation of some sort. Though what the annihilation is yet to be determined. Maybe it is the time police. Maybe.
Or maybe like when he and all the other inmates escaped, some of them were evil, as I said. So maybe he's trying to stop the bad ones from doing harm. So does he get some of the maybe good ones on his side to help in this time war?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah.
And
maybe.
Yeah.
He's like recruiting his former friends to help him in the time war.
Yeah. Well, like, and because the time police know what's going to happen, what has happened, and what could happen, maybe their annihilation, maybe that's what they're talking about, because they know that there's so many other timelines that they could flee to, so it honestly wouldn't put them out much to destroy one of them. Maybe they're like,
or maybe they'll just let that universe destroy itself with all the time travelers in it.
Possibly. They've been trying to calm down this thing for so long, but eventually they're just like, there are too many time travelers here. They're messing with everything. And you know what?
And they maybe said, okay, let's just section off this entire dimension and just let it just die.
Yup, exactly.
So they basically keep every time traveler stuck in this one dimension, even though a lot of them are from different dimensions and they're all trying to get home.
Yes. Almost kind of like a Spider-Man.
Get into the Spider-Verse type of thing.
Spider-Verse thing.
That could be kind of funny.
That's very funny and very cool, because I could imagine, like, then after they have this sectioned off. What do they call it when someone comes down with lice and they have to section them off?
Quarantine. Quarantine.
It would be timeline quarantine.
Yeah.
And I like that name actually to the point where I'm going to write it down because that would be a great name for one of the issues. Timeline quarantine.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So once they have this dedicated timeline that they don't care about anymore, maybe they just treat it like the junk drawer. So they just throw
start
everyone
throwing time travelers into it.
Yeah, and it becomes goddamn ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, both evil and good time travelers just zipping around from all sorts of dimensions.
Yeah.
Oh, and I just came up with a funny idea for a character. Because, Time Muncher, his powers are kind of ridiculous. But I thought, what if we came up with an alternate dimensional version of him where his powers are actually kind of cool and badass?
Right.
And he's like, oh, I'm the legit version of you. You're like the parody of me.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And Time Muncher has to deal with being like the stupid one.
Kind of like being the like being the sibling that didn't get all of the good traits.
Yeah, well, kind of like if Doc Brown went to a different dimension and saw Rick Sanchez like, oh, you're just a parody of me.
Yeah. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
That would explain why he's so pissed off all the time. Like maybe
like, I'm not even the good one.
Maybe that's why he goes from being like this chill dude who's like goofing off and having fun to this serious dude who's like, listen up. Like he's pissed off because it's kind of like how Solid Snake and Liquid Snake, if you've ever played Metal Gear Solid, whoever's listening, that one of them is the perfect copy of a legendary warrior, and one of them is the inferior copy of the legendary warrior that kind of messed up a little bit. Yeah, could you imagine? Like that would be actually really funny to meet someone who can choose where he wants to time travel. And has the ability to go back and forth at will.
Or could just maybe still, since it's still basically the legit version of Time Muncher, maybe he could just touch someone and travel back to any memory of theirs that they have.
And he would have a much cooler name than Time Muncher, which would be like Time Dominator or not. Nah, that sounds evil. Time.
Yeah. Well, there could be an evil version as well.
There could be.
Yeah, different versions of Time Muncher and all that.
He would be the Time Jogger. No, that's stupid.
That would sound like an even stupider version.
He's just, hey guys, I'm just going
He's
for
the
my
nerdier version of them.
I'm just going for my morning jog. I can't really run because it gives me a bit of heartburn. Oh my god, that's funny. I don't know though. What is one thing that would take Time Muncher's powers?
Well, basically, kind of just taking away the
caveats.
living limitation of his powers.
Yeah.
Because his powers are only kind of ridiculous because of the eating thing.
Yeah.
Like, if you take that away and give him the ability to travel whenever he wants within certain limitations, then, yeah, he would be badass.
And, maybe the cool version of Time, like the official version of Time Muncher, would still be a little ridiculous, but it would be in a charming way. So let's say this is not set in stone whatsoever.
Maybe he's just a little bit handsomer. And
and
his life is actually together. He actually figured out a way to not make the same mistake to travel back in time or something.
And this is not something that like is set in stone. But let's say, for instance, he's a charming Time Muncher who everyone loves because instead of showing up when the person is eating, which is a time that most people don't want to be bothered, like he would show up when a baby is born, and then he would kiss the baby on the forehead, and they'd be like, "Ah, I was visited by the time baby guy."
That sounds kind of creepy, too. Well, there can be all sorts of different versions. So there's one that shows up when there's a baby born, and he's kind of the creepy one. And the creep. There's like a creepy stalker, time muncher, and there's like a nerdy version, and there's like an athletic version.
Maybe there's a time that this good version of time muncher would show up, but it would be considered good luck if if
it shows up whenever something good happens to you.
Whenever something fortunate happens to you. Like whenever something very fortunate happens to you. So like
you could call him Lucky Day or something.
Lucky Day. So like you were gonna have a good day if you were blessed by him showing up. And so it's
he would show up at the moment you had that bit of good fortune.
Yeah.
So you'd already know. You would just win the lottery, and then he'd show up.
And then he would show up in the newspaper, and people would you could write a book about the time he showed up during my lucky bout or something. And
although that would kind of raise interesting questions about what constitutes as good luck, because sometimes good luck for someone is bad luck for someone else.
That is very true.
Mm-hmm.
That is very true.
Like if a rock falls on someone else but misses you, that would technically be good luck for you.
Maybe you wouldn't have had a lucky day, but he chooses when to show up, and then just consequently, he chooses that day, it's going to be a good day for you.
Maybe just showing up with last time you had a happy memory or something.
Yeah.
Something involved with memories, I think, would be a good one.
Yeah.
Fits thematically.
So maybe at one point he would show up, and it would be when someone's seeing. Oh God, this is very heavy. But could you imagine someone's grandpa is going to die soon, and there's just one day where they have a really good day and a lucky day, and they're with their grandpa, and he shows up, but knowing the future, he whispers in their ear. He's like, "Hey, respect your grandpa while you can, because I don't know, treat him well while you can, because this will be one of the last few lucky days that you have with him." I don't know. Maybe it's like a fishing trip, and they catch a lot of fish, and so. I just kind of threw that out. It didn't sound so good when I.
Some things picking up a penny would be finding a dime on the street would kind of be good luck, but some things are luckier than others. Like if you touched someone, would you go back to 10 seconds ago when they found a penny, or would you go back a week ago when they won the lottery? Which one do you go to? There would have to be a
balancing system, and he would be able to choose which one.
Maybe some sort of way of balancing good and bad luck, like he has to charge up a certain amount of bad luck and a certain amount of bad things have to happen to him for him to travel far enough back.
So that would be his caveat. He would seem like the perfect, the thing that every time traveler strives to be, but there's also a sad part of his existence, that in order to use his power to travel at will, he also has to build up enough tragedy and bad luck. Or maybe
he might just end up having to adopt a bunch of puppies that have cancer, and
oh my God.
Yeah, then he's like, okay, I need to store up some bad luck, so just give me all the ones that are sick. Going to an animal adoption center and just, okay, which ones are going to die soon? All right, give me those. I need to store up some bad luck so I can time travel. Trust me, it's for the best.
They're that's not something we get requested every day. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, that's okay. Just give me the old ones.
So he has like maybe an animal rescue, but
would be a shitty animal rescue.
it really
yeah,
would.
like all of them are gonna die soon.
Oh my god. I don't know. We'd have to iron out these things, but I'm wondering like if that would work.
Is there anything else you want to talk about with Time Muncher, or
I'm wondering. Okay, so the other version of him is supposed to be the version with almost no limits. Maybe like almost a Mary Sue version of him, but also like, or he seems like a Mary Sue at first. And Time Muncher is very jealous of this because this version of him didn't get accidentally sent back, or maybe he did get sent back, but found a way to go back forward. So he's jealous of him, but then he realizes later on that it's not really worth being jealous or feeling bad because he has it worse, because this other version of himself, while he has a positive view in the public, he's also kind of a dick because he gets a big head and thinks that he can just basically do anything. So
yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's kind of cliched, like the better version who's kind of a dick.
maybe it is. Maybe it is.
Maybe he just realizes that his life isn't so great because he has to have some bad luck in order to make his powers work. So, like his life is actually terrible. Like his wife left him, and his dog died, and his house is getting repossessed or something.
Right? Maybe his
maybe whenever he travels using good luck, it counterbalances with bad luck later on.
Oh, like a yin and yang kind of thing.
Yeah. So his powers actually hurt him every time he uses them.
His good luck has to come from somewhere. He can grant good luck onto someone by using.
Well, that's kind of getting away from the time traveling powers things.
Well, he can grant good luck to people using his time travel powers. Is kind of how I see it. Maybe like there's a little bit of good luck that allows him to travel there, but when he shows up, their days get brighter and they have a much better time, but that has to counterbalance itself. I don't know. Maybe it is getting away from the original idea a little much, but I'm wondering. So how would this like counterbalancing the bad luck work? You know, like the like buying animals that are about to die.
Well, maybe like I'm trying to think how would luck even really tie into time travel. Maybe something to do with like probabilities and alternate timelines or something. Like the likelihood of something good happening to you, maybe that percentage could look into. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know.
I'm stumped.
And this is kind of one of those branches that is hurting my head a little. So maybe we can edit his power a little bit. So he's still the better version, but
yeah. Maybe he could just like go back to someone's memories. Like have someone say to someone, okay, I want you to remember what happened to you like at this specific time. And if they can remember it clearly enough, then he goes back to that time.
Yeah, because there's a strong enough connection.
Yeah, and he has to develop he makes himself develop a photographic memory so he can travel himself back in time whenever he wants.
So he comes across this person at some point and he's like, I need to go back to this time, this day, at exactly this point. And he's like, "Listen, I need you to remember what it looked like." And she's like, "No." She blocked it out because some crazy shit happened. And he's like, "Trust, like, I know it's gonna hurt, but this is important. I need you to remember." And so, not only does he get to travel back in time, but he gets people to open up, and then that endears
That
them
could be
to
kind
him.
of cool and interesting because, like, when he's asking someone questions like, "Okay, where were you on the night of the 14th?" and they're like, "Oh, I was doing this." Like, let's see. Touches them, goes back. Aha! They were lying. They're actually committing the murder right now.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe not everyone would know. That's actually interesting. This is cool. Maybe not everyone would know that he has this power because
Yeah. Well, I imagine if the police had a time traveler on their side, they'd probably want to keep it hushed up.
absolutely, yeah.
Would the time munchers even operate with the police, or would they be vigilantes?
Maybe a bit of both.
I don't know if there's, well, of course, there's obviously not an official, like, set of rules for dealing with time travel for the police, so.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not. No, like, the police have, maybe they have full access to time travel abilities, and we find out later it's because they're enslaving all of these time travelers and using their powers that
Like,
they've
just the
suppressed.
normal police, or, like.
Oh no, time police.
Oh, okay, I was just talking about the normal police.
The normal police.
Yeah, like average police officers. Do the time munchers work with them, or are they vigilantes working outside the law?
That's interesting. I think it's a bit of both. They think the police are a bit corrupt, but sometimes there are things that they both that are big enough problems for both of them to be worried about. So they work together. But the police are like, "Hey, you could join us anytime," and they're like, "Nah, we don't want to sell out. We like, we're inseparable, and the jobs that you guys want us to do would force us to separate time periods. Like maybe the police want them to be dedicated to like maintaining things 10 years in the future, and you're going to go 20 years in the future so that you can work things out then." And they're like, nah, we're inseparable. Possibility, not set in stone. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they would be working with the police?
Maybe they'd probably be working with a much higher branch of the government, like a top secret CIA organization. Probably.
Right. Although they are kind of misfit superheroes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the normal time muncher would be a misfit superhero. I don't know about the rest of them.
I see what you're saying. We're talking about a different group, like the good time travelers.
Oh, are we?
Right? I don't know. Are we?
I thought we were.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
It's gonna be difficult for us to get these together. So maybe we should make a graph.
Okay.
Maybe
you want to make a graph.
Yeah, like not right now.
Yeah. Okay.
But at some point,
sure.
Once we get this all worked out, are the time travelers are in this quarantined universe.
Right.
So is the entire universe of superheroes in this quarantine area, or is it just those time travelers?
I think, like, just the time travelers that broke out of prison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. That would probably just make more sense that all the time travelers who broke out of prison just escaped into this one timeline.
Yep.
Ended up getting quarantined because of it.
And what if it was like, maybe it was a timeline where there's an uprising, and so that's the ulterior motive behind quarantining it. So like
what kind of uprising?
Maybe an uprising against the time police. And
by who? Who's uprising against who here? I'm confused.
Oh, maybe the time travelers do a revolution against the time police, but by quarantining them, and I'm just throwing things at the
just
wall.
the time travelers that escape, or like all time travelers in the multiverse?
Just the time travelers that escape.
Okay.
They're trying to work together to overthrow the time police, and so that's when they notice this starts happening. Maybe that's why they quarantine them. So they can't infect any other timelines. This is a little difficult too. I don't think that'll work. I don't know.
Maybe not.
I don't think that. I don't think that.
Yeah.
I was just testing it.
Too convoluted for me.
Let's just keep it. Basically where we were about 20 minutes ago.
How does this whole war resolve? Do they just defeat the bad time travelers, or do they defeat the time police, or both?
I think it should.
Do they have to defeat both groups? The heroes, the good time travelers?
The good time travelers.
Yeah. Including our main lead and his friends.
I wonder if it would be a little cliche to have them all have it be a definitive win or lose scenario. Maybe.
Well, I mean, this giant war has to end somehow, so how is it gonna end?
What if it would end by them just being erased? That's a little dreary, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. For such like a funny idea we originally had.
Okay. So probably not that. What if? You're right. We want to keep it lighthearted.
Yeah.
Maybe they must break out of this quarantine at some point. Then, how would they do it?
Maybe the time god finds everyone and has them all in a court to decide who's guilty and who's innocent.
I got it.
Maybe they all have a big court battle.
You know how we're talking about this time muncher that's actually good?
Yeah.
Isn't stupid?
Yeah.
What if the good time muncher is just the time muncher that did meet up with his young self and became a god?
So the good time muncher with the luck powers that we've been discussing, or like the memory powers?
Maybe. Yeah, it might not work with the luck powers, would it?
Yeah. Okay, so have we decided on just the memory powers then? The memory time traveling powers then?
Memory time travel powers sound really good.
Yeah, okay, right then. And then that's the good version of Time Muncher that he's jealous of. And then is he I guess maybe he might. Yeah, I guess he kind of would be on the same side as Time Muncher in this war.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
The time memory man would definitely, I think, I really like the idea of him being the version of him that mended with his former self and then unlocked his full abilities. But it comes with a lot of isolation and sadness because
if he unlocked his full abilities, how powerful would he be? Because if he becomes powerful enough, then he could just win the war in an instant, and then there'd be no tension.
No, we don't want him to be too powerful.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Because, again, you said you don't want to marry Sue, so...
We don't.
If he becomes an all-powerful god or something, then, it's kind of not... He'd be a Superman.
He'd be a bit of a Superman. Very Superman. But there must be a downside to it. Maybe something that convinces the real time muncher not to meet up with his former self and not to become a god, because maybe the version of himself that does do that is overworked and stressed. I don't know.
Mm.
Not feeling it.
It seems like when you make a powerful character and then try and make a downside to that power, you're just kind of like trying
Tacking
to
things
patch a problem you put into the story.
So yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's like the kryptonite.
It
You made
is.
Superman too powerful, and now you have to come
Give
up
him
with
tension.
make a Deus Ex Machina to make him less powerful.
Yeah, you're very right. You're very right about that. So maybe the Memory Man would not be the version that
maybe we
throw that
don't
idea
even
out.
throw away the like God version of him.
You're right. You're right. We're getting a little too close to Mary Sue Village over here. So on another track then, what should we do?
I don't know. Maybe some kind of like all-powerful being comes in and like everyone has to convince him that they're the ones on the right side of history, and they all have a big debate or something. I don't know.
Maybe there's a moral at the end of it that it's not worth worrying about alternate universes, because this universe is tailor-made for you, and you can influence it in whatever way you want. You don't need to go seek out a better universe. Just be in the one you're in, immerse yourself in that world, and make it the best it can be. So Time Muncher is very funny, because like it's ultra funny, because there's this idea of there's the alternate time guy who's like making personal emotional connections with people and is like, I need you to think of this, like don't worry about it, and everyone has a very positive view of this guy, because he's interested in their story, and he wants the best things for them. But everyone, like, Time Muncher is so funny because he kind of just shows up when people aren't expecting visitors, and I can just imagine so many times, like, we could use the rule of threes where people, when he shows up while they're eating, they're like, fucking again? Are you serious, dude? Like, you're just I'm here trying to enjoy my Philly cheesesteak, and you just use me to time travel. I don't know. But
that wasn't really a rule of three, that was more rule of one.
Or no, like what I mean is it happens maybe 3 times. Because if you use a joke, more than 3 times, it gets old. So maybe we'll have like 3 separate times where people are like, dude, cut it out.
Or maybe do it once to a guy, it slightly annoys, do it another time to another guy, that guy's slightly annoyed, do it another time, and he's eating at a time where it's like really awkward, like
like on a first date.
Yeah, well, no, like he's eating.
What were you gonna
say?
Like
maybe he's eating in a car, and the Time Muncher show, like he's driving to work, and Time Muncher suddenly pops into existence on the hood of his car, and he's like,
that would be really funny, actually.
Yeah, and he just slams on the brakes, and Time Muncher just rolls off. It's like, God damn it! And and he just reaches in through the window and grabs him by the collar. Don't eat in the car anymore!
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Screw you, Gary!
There's so many possibilities for funny instances. Like, stop eating in the car. Like,
or he transports back to, like, he accidentally bumps into a kid, and then he gets transported to a food fight at the school earlier that day.
Yes.
He, like, just pops into existence just as a dinner tray hits his head like bang.
Or maybe one of the times like they're like eating almonds or something on the toilet, and he just pops in. He just pops into the stall with him.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You're eating on the toilet? You know how unsanitary that is?"
Yeah.
You could get E. coli from that, dude.
Yeah. or I thought of one. He touches the guy, goes back in time, and the guy is eating his boogers.
Oh
something.
my god, that's actually really
and he
funny.
finds out, and he like finds out his friend eats boogers.
And
he's like, dude, what?
It would
the
be
hell?
perfect. It would be perfect if we mention it before this happens. Like maybe one time.
Well, I think it would be funnier if it's a surprise. Like he's goes up to his friend, just like, I'm sorry, I need to go back to the last time you ate. And the friend's like, no, touches him, goes back, and the guy's eating the booger. And he's like, oh.
And he's like, what? They're said to. It's said that if you eat your boogers, like, it'll help your immune system.
Yeah.
There's
or
vitamins in there.
Yeah, he swallows gum or something.
Yeah. Actually, that would be ultra funny. Like he just sees this guy eating his boogers, and he's like, I'm never gonna look at you the same way again.
Or he transports back in time, shocks someone, and they start choking, and he's like, oh, god damn it. It starts doing the Heimlich. It's like, don't worry, he says to everyone in the restaurant, don't worry, I'm a time traveler, I'm used to it.
That's funny. That's really funny. Or, oh god, that would,
Or he time travels back to his friend when he's on a dinner date, and he's like, dude, he shows up right next to him during the date, and he leans over to his friend, okay, dude, don't eat the dessert, you're going to throw up on her. Yeah.
There's so many funny
there's
ways.
Food poisoning.
There's so many funny ways to have this happen, and I love that.
We could go on all day about this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any time that there's anything being consumed, like, or don't eat a second piece of pie. So, I think that's a lot to marinate on.
Yeah.
By the time we come back next week, we'll have a lot of this figured out. I think just from from checking on like what kind of ideas we're throwing around this time and what kind of things won't work.
Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe we could talk about some other superhero stuff as well.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah.
Let's move on to
move on to some new subjects.
Yeah,
don't want this to be the Time Muncher podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. What about like the other groups like how Young Time Muncher is traveling with a bunch of Zero heroes and what are the other guys doing while all this Time Muncher thing is happening?
Like just his friends, or like my Zero's heroes character?
Your Zero's heroes.
Oh.
Or like his friends, like who also have weird powers.
Okay, I didn't know we established their friends had weird powers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, we didn't really think up any friends for him, did we?
I thought we did, because weren't we talking about some of the heroes who are friends with Time Muncher and don't know that there's a creepy old man waiting for him?
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't know we gave them powers.
Oh.
I thought they were regular people.
Oh, are they regular people?
Oh, they can be superpowered if you want.
Ah, I had this idea that his friends had really ridiculous superpowers too.
Okay, yeah, that can be something we talk about next time.
Yeah, and so they're all hanging out, because they're kind of outcasts.
Right.
They're superheroes who
Right.
have superpowers that other people don't see so much value in.
Right. Again, talk about it next time. We're
Yeah.
going on a little too long here. Yeah, okay. So, everyone, thanks for listening in. We hope you had a fun time. And as always, I guess we're still looking for a catchphrase. So,
and as always,
I
I'm Chlamydia. I am from Mother Russia, and I have good barthing hips.
I bet we're gonna get complaints about that when I post the second episode, and then I'm gonna want to have to edit this out.
Okay,
Yeah.
and thank you for joining us, and thank you for listening to us throw crap at a wall.
Yeah. So, and see what sticks.
Yes, and it's been a lot of fun. I think we're making a lot of progress.
Yeah. Okay. Well, everyone, thanks for listening, and hope you have a nice day. Bye.